this seems actually terrible. You would be right, because you have the downside of you cannot have energy shield. So why would you want this item? It's an ES-based item. Energy shield is a huge portion of defenses, and then you're going to have to stack energy shield literally anyway in order to get life regen pretty bad, right? But if we could remove this stat line, this item might be quite interesting, because now we're regenerating life based upon maximum energy shield, but we still get energy shield. But there's one other reason this would be interesting. There is this node in the game called Zealot's Oath, and what this does is excess life recovery from regeneration is applied to energy shield, but your energy shield does not recharge. So if I am capped out on life, my life regeneration that I am gaining is now directly regenerating my energy shield. I don't have to rely on recharge. And recharge is kind of the downside on energy shield. You can have a lot of energy shield, but you get hit and you gotta wait for the downtime of not being hit in order to regenerate it. This is part of the reason Grim Feast was so good back before they removed this functionality from the game. Besides the fact that overflow, you literally got double ES, which was busted, you also could continually regenerate huge chunks of energy shield. It's also why Ghost Shroud is so good currently in the game as well. We're getting these Ghost Shrouds, which are regenerating your energy shield based upon your evasion, and so that way you can kind of build a lot of energy shield, but still get like fast replenishing of it. So what if we could stack energy shield, but negate the downside of it entirely, where that's where this helmet comes into play. You remove the cannot have energy shield with this no Valborn type of mechanic, and now we are regenerating energy shield instead of life using the new Zealot's Oath. And you can have a ton of energy shield, so if you had 15,000 energy shield, for instance, you are now regenerating 750 energy shield per second. Now the problem is, as we go through these uniques, for all we know, they could determine that, you know, this is too strong. Maybe they don't let you
What can I get you?
I want a job where I can help people.
Our job building rockets.
I want to work somewhere creative.
Dare to discover with LinkedIn's AI-powered job search.
A lot of people are looking for passive income from side hustles.
Yeah, it's the financial Ozempic, and it's more accessible than ever. Like 90% of the ideas I talk about can be launched with $500 or less, and there's enough time in the day to do these on the nights and weekends.
So in these 3 suitcases in front of me, I have 3 different amounts of money. And during this conversation, I'm going to pass you a box at random. And your job is to tell me what kind of business you would start with that amount of money. Sounds good.
Let's do this.
Known as the king of side hustles, Chris Kerner has launched over 80 businesses, earning millions in the process.
And now, the serial entrepreneur is going to teach us how to adopt a business mindset
and launch simple, overlooked, but profitable ventures with little money.
Many of us struggle financially, and they see a side hustle as a solution to that. Like for me, growing up kind of poor, business allowed me to take hold of my life and make it what I wanted it to be. And it started when I was 9 years old and wanting a red Schwinn bicycle. My friends had a bicycle, my neighbors had a bicycle, and my parents didn't have money for it. But I lived across the street from a golf course, and these golf balls would fly in my yard. And I would go to my neighbor's yard and go across the street, dig through the ditches, and I'd pull out all these golf balls, and I started selling them. That was my first business. That taught me that business is approachable. And we all have ideas, but if we usually don't do anything about it. Why? I think number 1, they're afraid of what people think. Number 2 is they don't have the tools, or they're not connecting the tools with the ideas. If we can get over those, the world is our oyster at that point. I got $1,000. What side hustle do you start? The first thing that comes to mind is my favorite business idea of all right now. This is a 0-employee business. It's highly profitable, and that would be. So how important is it for you to love the thing to be successful at it?
ignore passion, follow the profit until you can afford to follow your passion. Do they need a business partner? No. If you look at the stats on business failure rates with companies that have co-founders, it's significantly higher than companies that have solo founders. And how does someone validate a business idea? If I had to pick one tool, it's one that 1 in 4 humans use every day. That's everything you need right there. I see messages all the time in the comments section that some of you didn't realize you didn't subscribe. So if you could do me a favor and double check if you're a subscriber to this channel, that would be tremendously appreciated. It's the simple, it's the free thing that anybody that watches the show frequently can do to help us here, to keep everything going in this show, in the trajectory it's on. So please do double check if you subscribed, and thank you so much. Because in a strange way, you're part of our history, and you're on this journey with us, and I appreciate you for that. So yeah, thank you. Chris, who are you, and what is the mission that you're on? I am a father, I am a husband, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. And I love talking about business and starting businesses and inspiring other people to do the same. Why? Business has given me everything. Growing up kind of poor, it was my outlet. It was my way of just kind of taking hold of my life and making it what I wanted it to be. And I have immense gratitude for that. And I just love talking about it. It's the only thing I know. I can't talk to you about history or nutrition or anything, but when it comes to business, I just love it. And I want other people to love it as well. How have you made your name in the world of business? Because I've heard your name a lot recently. People call you the king of side hustles. Where has this come from? I think I just published my life on the internet now. I'm always testing and launching and starting businesses, but only over the last couple of years have I started publishing that. And I didn't try to be like the king of side hustles. That's not something that I've ever like intentionally tried to brand myself as. But I think people see what I do as a side hustle, and they call it that. But I think that anything is scalable. Any side hustle could be a multi-million-dollar business. I mean, we live on a planet with 8 billion people, and we're all connected, and anything can be scaled. And you make a lot of content now, so you've probably had a bit of a feedback loop in terms of understanding what it is that you say and do and create that's resonant with people, and also why it's resonant. Like, what is the crux of what people like my audiences are looking for? As humans, we all want a silver bullet. We want a solution to our problems, and many of us struggle financially, and they see a side hustle as an outlet to that, or as a solution to that. I think everyone has ideas. Most people are very hesitant to execute on those ideas, and so when they see someone like me freely executing on all the ideas, hopefully it opens their mind and helps them look at their ideas in a different way, or a more approachable way, and maybe gives them confidence to do the same. In the boxes in front of me here, I have 3 different amounts of money. $500, I have $1,000, and $5,000. And during this conversation, I'm going to pass you a box at random. And your job is to tell me what kind of business you would start with that amount of money. Because I know my audience, many of them are interested in starting their own business one day. And I use specifically sort of low amounts of money just to make it as accessible to them as possible. So we will do that at some point. I'll pass you the boxes. You give me 3 business ideas. You'll start with $500, $1,000, and $5,000. But I want to get a view on you and the businesses that you've started and the sort of the variety of success you've had. So can you give me an overview? Yeah. So I was 9 years old, living in Utah, and I lived across the street from a golf course. And these golf balls would fly in my yard. And I don't know what gave me the idea, but I started selling them. I just wanted money for a bike. I wanted the Schwinn bicycle, and it was red, and my friends had a bicycle, my neighbors had a bicycle, and my parents didn't have money for it. And so for whatever reason, I connected that white golf ball in my grass with money. And I would go to my neighbors' yards, I'd go across the street, I'd dig through the ditches, and I'd pull out all these golf balls, I'd wash them, and then I'd put up this huge piece of plywood in front of my house that said golf balls 3 for $1. And that was my first business. And at the time, it was just normal, it was natural. I didn't know any different. And now, I have a 9-year-old, and I was 9 when I did that. And we live on a busy road today. I lived on a busy road then. And the thought of him, like, negotiating, haggling with grown-ups wearing polo shirts on our doorstep is unfathomable.
But that's what I was doing, and that planted the seed. That kind of taught me that business is approachable. Preferably, it's approachable. Approachable and scalable can be the same thing. They don't have to be at odds with one another. So,
And how many businesses have you started since then?
I lose count. I have a spreadsheet, but it's at least 80.
And what are the outcomes been? How much money have you made? How has that changed your life? What freedom has that given you?
Yeah, so cumulatively, all of the businesses have generated low hundreds of millions of revenue, low tens of millions of profit. But on a real number basis, the majority of them have been abandoned or fizzled out or failed, or there was too much opportunity cost, so I pivoted to something else. It's just a numbers game.
And how has that changed your life? What does your lifestyle look like?
My life is awesome. We built our dream house in our 20s. We had all 4 of our kids in our 20s. We travel a lot. I've been married for 17 years. We're a very close family. We take a lot of trips. We live in a good school district, but my kids go to public school, and we have everything we need and more, and we're very grateful for that.
What is the sort of underpinning mentality that's required for someone to be successful at starting businesses in the way that you started them, starting these side hustles at volume and seeing success? Is there like a foundational mentality or personality or character trait required before we get into the tactics?
Yeah. I should say that the pain of your problem needs to be greater than how much you care about what people think about you. It needs to get to that point. Because by far, that is the biggest roadblock to success, is people caring too much about what people think about them. And so they don't want to do the thing, or they don't want to talk about doing the thing because some random person from high school follows them on Facebook and might comment something, right? Which is really silly, but I've been there. I get it, right? If we can get over that, if we can just flip the switch in our brain that says people are thinking about me, people are caring about me, and just switch that to off, we'll win, right? Because the world is our oyster at that point.
And in terms of where we sit at this moment of time, with technology, with AI, with fast internet, with mobile phones, do you think this is the best time for people to start something, to start a side hustle or to try?
Every day that goes by, the timing gets better for people, right? Things are getting more competitive, but there are more tools than ever. 10 years ago, if I wanted to start a business, and this is what the internet's in full swing, social media's in full swing, I probably had to spend a lot of money or move to San Francisco or raise venture capital. That's like, I would love for you to try to convince me. Try to give me an idea where you have to raise money, or where you have to go all in, or where you have to quit your job. It doesn't exist. With all these AI tools, software tools, you can make a website with one prompt, you can make an app with one prompt, you can post to Facebook Marketplace and have hundreds of inquiries within an hour, you can post Facebook ads, you could go to Craigslist, like, you could put a sign up in front of your house, you could go launch a survey to people, like, there are so many tools for testing and validating and experimenting with these concepts that it is more accessible than ever.
Why don't people?
What can I get you?
I want a job where I can help people.
Sarah's job building rockets.
I want to work somewhere creative.
Dare to discover with LinkedIn's AI-powered job search.
I think number one is they're afraid of what people think. Number two is they don't have the tools, or at least they're not connecting the tools with the ideas, right? They'll use Facebook Marketplace to sell a sectional, but then they won't think to use it when validating their woodworking idea, right? They're just not connecting the dots. There's too many tools, in a sense, so we don't know how to tie them all together. They also probably don't know, like, how much the law of abundance is a real thing, right? People think business is a zero-sum game.
What does that mean?
Well, they think that things are oversaturated. They'll have an idea for a product or a service, and then they'll get really excited, and then they'll go Google it, and then they'll see it exists, and they'll move on. And when I do that and I see it exists, I'm like, yes, this is it. Someone went to the front lines of the battlefield and validated this for me. And then I'll go to the web archive, I'll go to Whois, and I'll go look at what their website has looked like over the last decade, see where they started. Maybe their product was $99. Now it's like $49 every 2 months. Interesting, okay. I'll look at the copy of their headline. I'll look at like how many tabs they have on their website. Do they post their Instagram feed on? I'll look at all these things and see how it's evolved over time and think, awesome. I'm gonna start where he's at today. Like this guy already proved it out for me. He took all the risk. This is amazing. This exists. I don't need to like do it better. I don't need to do it differently. I just need to do the same thing. And the market is big enough. The world is big enough to where I can win as well.
You said Web Archive. What role does Web Archive play? What is that for anyone that isn't familiar? How do you use that?
Yeah, it's just a tool that shows snapshots over time of what a website looks like, right? So it's a great way of kind of reverse engineering what businesses have done to be successful. And then there's another tool called SimilarWeb where you can see what their traffic has been over time. And you can kind of overlay the two. You can say, oh, interesting, when they redesigned their website to be more mobile friendly, their traffic went from 3,000 a month to 4,500 a month. Interesting. I'm just gonna make it mobile friendly from day one, right? So we are at a great advantage when we start where our competitors or our future competitors already are, instead of starting where we think we need to be, starting like trying to be different or innovative or unique. In my experience, that's more of like a signal of our pride or our ego. We feel kind of like weird or odd or even dirty or unethical if we're just like copying and pasting a business. Even if we had the original idea ourselves, when really there's nothing to be ashamed of. Like we don't want to steal their intellectual property or their logo or anything, but copy what's already working.
People don't think that that's a thing because they think if I copy a business that's already working, then I'm not going to get any customers because this existing business has all the customers.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. I had someone on the show where they talked about how some of the greatest entrepreneurs in the world basically just copy 95% of the blueprint. I think it was Walmart. I think he was talking about Walmart, but
yeah, they copied other like regional grocery chains.
mm-hmm. Copying as a strategy.
Yeah.
Have you done that?
Oh, absolutely.
Give me an example.
Okay, well, I had a phone repair business when I was in college, 2010. And I got a call one day from someone that said, hey, Chris, I want to buy all of your broken iPhone screens. Do you have any broken iPhone screens? Sure. We don't throw them away because we think it's bad for the environment. We just have a box of them. How much will you pay me? $3 a piece. Why? What? Why will you pay me $3? It's just broken glass. And they said, well, there's actually a way of remanufacturing these. We can send them to China. We can remove the broken glass, put new glass on them, and then we can resell them as a remanufactured unit. And that was just like a light bulb, right? So most people, I think, at this point would say, yeah, where do I ship these? You know? But I was like, I need to be in that business. I want to copy that guy who called me, right? Now, I don't know what his website was. I don't know what the name of his business was. There was no web archive at the time to look at. I just wanted to copy the business model because I thought, this is going to be a thing. I'm in the industry. I know the industry. I'm going to do this as well. So we did 2 million the first year, then 5, and then 9, and then we exited a few years after that.
It's interesting, but you often don't think that everyone's in search of a new idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough to find new ideas.
Yeah.
Like I think, was it Einstein that said there's no such thing as a new idea?
Sounds right.
But you have an orientation just to look at existing models and to replicate them. Do you put a spin on it at all?
I'll develop my own spins over time, right? Because we're all a product of our environment. And so in the case of this business, I started copying exactly, right? I went and found people in China. I just went to Alibaba. I messaged a ton of people that sold iPhone screens, and I said, do you recycle? Do you recycle? Do you recycle? And like 5 or 10% of them said yes. So then I shipped them samples, and then they shipped me some back. And then over time, I started like taking some marketing principles from previous businesses, like Facebook ads, cold calling, and I started applying them just because I didn't know how this other competitor was finding success. I knew he was cold calling and that was working, that's all I knew. Remember, I didn't even know the name of his business. And so over time, you start using your previous experiences to apply these tweaks to the business and to make it your own. But if you do that right at the outset, right? Like if I got a call and he said, I want to buy your broken iPhone screen, then I said, okay, I'm going to do that, but I don't want to just sell iPhone screens, that's lame. I'm going to do Samsung, right? Pretty good chance there's not even a market for that, or there's not even a method for that. And because of my ego, my pride, my unwillingness to just copy what's already working, I wouldn't have that successful business in my back pocket, right? Mm-hmm. So if you do twists in the beginning, it's kind of like you're I'm kind of thinking of an analogy. Like if you're on a long road trip and you start taking detours early on, or if a flight is on a flight path and he starts like getting off track just a little bit at the beginning, he's going to end up hundreds of miles away from his destination. But if he starts making tweaks along the way, then he'll be much closer to where he would have been anyway.
And you might reach a better destination with some of those
Exactly.
tweaks.
Because you're blending it with your experience. What
Yeah.
you know better than the person that you're copying.
And so it's important to copy the model exactly at the beginning, because you're also going to learn what it is about that existing model that works.
Yeah.
And therefore what you can iterate on, change, expand. If you didn't, then you might miss something.
Exactly. Because so often I made the mistake of looking at another business and saying, oh man, why are they doing that? Why are they charging like that? Why, like, they're charging all these different things. That's so confusing. I made this mistake. I had an e-commerce fulfillment business where brands would send us all their products. We had this big warehouse, and we would ship all of their stuff out, right? And I was like, why do they have storage fees, pick, pack, and ship fees? They charge fees for tracking their expiration dates. They charge extra fees if there's 5 items in a box versus 4. Like, there's so much friction there. That's so messy. Like, we're gonna make this simple. We're just one flat fee, no storage fee, and that's gonna be our differentiator, right? And then over time, over the course of months and years, we learned, oh, storage fees is because sometimes your customers go out of business and then you're left holding the bill, and like your storage costs are actually very high. There's nothing to pass on. Oh, pick, pack, and ship fees, because you learn all these things and you're like, okay, I wasn't like this genius that had an MBA. I was just like trying to put my own spin on it because I thought I was smarter than that business owner. Turns out someone that's been doing this for 15 years versus 15 days knows a lot more about the industry than me, and I'm much better off just copying his pricing, copying the layout of his website, copying the size of the warehouse he has, copying the same niche that he's going after, because that's clearly working for him. So I don't make that mistake anymore. I don't assume that other competitors are idiots, right?
Yeah.
I've been proven wrong too many times. I assume that they're doing that because they've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And if I copy them, then I won't have to learn the hard way.
I had several of our executives over at my house over the last couple of days, and we were looking at different models. So basically, we're looking at other companies that do similar things to us, that have been around for a long time. And the question I ended up asking at one moment, when I had the exact same epiphany, I was like, why do they do it that way? Isn't that shitty? And there was a second where I think we were tempted to try and reinvent the wheel. But the question I ask myself now, with the wisdom of like many years of business, is like, why did it end up that way? Which is, why did our competitor, who's been doing this for 50 years, end up there? Because as you said, there's clearly a set of things that have happened that have made them conclude, whether it's that scale or some other factor that's made them conclude that this is the best way of doing it. And just like you, I've been wrong so many times where I thought, oh, they're just idiots. That's why they can't see this obvious thing. But actually, their model is stress tested.
I ended up just coming right